So, what is a small business restructure or restructuring, and who is it for?
So, small business restructuring was new legislation that was brought in a few years ago, and primarily it's for small businesses. You've got to be a company to do a small business restructure, or you need to have a trust that's got a company as the trustee of the trust. So, it doesn't work for sole traders. Small companies with debts under $1 million. So, that encompasses a fairly large amount of small businesses, and they're usually mum and dad businesses. Um, and those debts really, if they're under $1 million, it means they have an opportunity to take advantage of the small business restructuring system, which is less formal. It's not a liquidation where a liquidator comes in, takes over the business and shuts it down. It's not a voluntary administration where you lose control of your business for a period of, 35 to 45 days while the administrator takes control. Essentially, the business owner stays in control with the guidance of the small business restructuring practitioner. And, some great results have been achieved through this. There's been in the early days, there was some debt reduction of, 90 to 95, 85 cents in the dollar. These days, debt reduction is probably less, more likely to be in the region of 65, 60, 50 cents in the dollar. But, if a business has got a five or $600,000 debt, that's a great result. Because also the advantage of this is that once the agreement is reached, there's no interest being accrued on that debt. So, yeah, the small business restructuring process really has been, quite revolutionary for small businesses, particularly with tax debt. We're on quite a few Facebook groups where we have a lot of interaction with the tradie wives, the wives of the small business owners, and you can see from the questions that come from there some of those businesses are in so much pain, and it's so hard to find where do you turn to get your answers. It's so hard for them to find someone who can actually help guide them through, that exit strategy or that restructuring strategy, or give them good advice. You would
Yeah.
see that too, yeah.
Yeah, I do. I see that quite a lot. And I get told that quite a lot as well when I'm talking to people on the phone that, where can they turn to and where should they go? And yeah, it's happening a lot more frequent now.
Yeah. And I think too, and you would see this as well, if somebody rings me, I'm probably the fourth or fifth person they've rung, and there's probably another 10 on their list,
Yeah.
and they're getting so much information, and they're sending me, excerpts from Chat GPT and Google, and it's just overwhelming for people. I really do feel sorry for them. How do you know who to trust? It's very, very difficult for them.
Yeah, it would become very overwhelming, especially if they're trying to still run their business at the same time, as well as looking up what to do and how to help them get through it. And yeah, it would be very, very hard, especially for families as well. Like you said, a lot of small businesses, like family owned businesses, it can make it very hard in day to day life. I have got a client who is a recruiting agency, and they had a debt that was outstanding for, I think it was about 2 years. And the debt was probably around about the $10,000 mark. And it took a few months for me to really negotiate, try and get payment. There was a lot of back and forth. There were then solicitors involved. A 2-year-old debt at $10,000 ended up settling for 50%. And our client was absolutely grateful. They were so happy with the outcome. And that really helped their cash flow with their business because they were sitting on this debt for so long. We managed to settle it and everyone was happy in the end.
See, don't you think that if that client had got you involved earlier, in my experience, there's often a reason that people aren't paying. Sometimes they're just being pig-headed, but often there's a reason. And you get
Yeah.
involved earlier and they say, well, they didn't finish that, or they didn't supply this, or they didn't supply that. It gets supplied, and you collect 100%
Yeah.
of the debt, because we
Yeah.
all know, don't we, the longer that debt goes, the less chance you've got of collecting it. So I think, if we can get you guys involved sooner in the process, then collection's got to be better.
It is, and I do see that a lot. You're so right. Like, the longer it is, there's disputes, there's things that can't be fixed or rectified, and yeah, like the sooner you are onto it, within say 60 or 90 days, it's definitely a lot easier. You're looking at a good 100% of that debt returned. Um, depending on who the client is and what they want to see, even if they want to settle, it's definitely a lot easier.
Yeah, yeah, no, totally agree. And I would say that, a lot of these small businesses that we're doing the small business restructures from, when you're getting a history, somewhere there in the background, there's customers that went broke on them, or they couldn't collect the debt. And once again, I think if we'd, so had some intervention a bit earlier, that debt may well have been collectible. And because the tax department,
Yeah.
as you know, often is the last person to get paid, because they're the person that's not
Yeah.
banging on the door. So early intervention of debtors collection, I think, is vital.